at naturallawn.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live at 2 p.m. from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing weeknights at 8 p.m. on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. Welcome to the Gailey Show. I'm your host, John Parker. Jim Pounds, executive producer, in studio with me.
Hey, all.
And, oh, hey, there's Brett Johnson in the control room. Hey, Brett.
Hey there.
You like ducked down. I was like, did he go?
Yeah.
How was your weekend, Brett?
I had a good weekend myself. Beautiful weather outside. So I get a few more days of taking credit for good weather before it starts raining later in the week.
We actually kind of need the rain. So
I suppose
you should take
you're right.
credit for that, too.
Yeah. Just keep changing your position. That's
that's convenient. That's the politician's way to do it. Change your
I-
position so you're popular. Yeah.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you, Brett, for all that you do for us in the control room and on the weather. We really appreciate it.
Including the weather, most importantly. Yes.
We were outside reclaiming our garden this weekend. I'm calling it the Victory Garden, like they did in World War II. With all the tariffs, we're just going to call it a Victory Garden and start planting. And I really let it go to pot and not the good pot.
No.
But, Jim's been trying to keep it up for a few years now, and I've decided to get back into the fray.
At least you did it on Saturday and Sunday. Good job.
I did.
Good
It was
job.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. There's some good soil there. We did a good job once upon a time. Trying to reclaim it now. So here's some fun thing for you. Fortune Feimster is going to be here in Minneapolis on Saturday evening. New comedy tour called Taking Care of Biscuits.
I love that title.
And guess what? I have a pair of tickets to give away.
You do?
Oh my, yes.
Now, one
so
thing-
if you're in Minneapolis, you can call 952-946-6205, 946-6205. First caller gets a pair of tickets to Fortune Feimster's Taking Care of Biscuits this Saturday, May 17th at the State Theater.
Now, we don't know whether it'll be the early show or the late show. So that's one thing to be aware of when you call. It could be either. They didn't identify which.
They're giving us free tickets. So
Right. I figured it would be all right.
I would have
Either
thought
way.
by now they would have told us which one. But so when we say there's a 7 p.m. show and a 9:30 p.m. show.
It's one of those
But it's
two.
Fortune Feimster, so
Right.
whether it's 7 or 9:30,
Who cares
at
that point?
it's good.
Yeah.
It's all good. We love Fortune.
Should be a popular ticket. So
Yeah, it is going fast. That's why I was really excited when they reached out to us last week and they said, we have some free tickets if you want to give them away on your show. Thank you for thinking of us. We love supporting Fortune. So yeah, 952-946-6205. First caller gets the free pair of tickets to see Fortune at the State Theater on Saturday night, either the 7 p.m. or the 9:30 p.m. show. To be determined. I see the call light going off. Anyway, what is on the show today? Brazil's Superior Court of Justice authorizes gender-neutral IDs, finally, in Brazil.
good.
And meantime, the UK Supreme Court decision earlier this month about gender has unleashed chaos with their scientifically illiterate decision on gender. That is not just me saying scientifically illiterate. That's
Right.
50,000 doctors with the
Right.
British Medical Association.
Right.
So because of this, what we mean by chaos, a trans man tried to join 60 gyms.
Mhm.
And we're going to tell you what happened.
Wow.
Hegseth, everyone's favorite Secretary of Defense, has given trans service members until July 7th to voluntarily leave service before they start forcibly removing folks,
Right.
per the U.S. Supreme Court, who brilliantly said, yeah, go ahead, start kicking people out. We know the lower courts haven't figured it out, but yeah, just go ahead.
Just think of all the money we've spent training these highly skilled people, soldiers and whatever specialties they all have.
Mm-hmm.
An enormous amount of cheddar has gone into the process of getting these folks ready to be frontline people, and this bunch of people in a clown car, as Matt McNeil refers to them, takes all of that, sort of all of that training and experience and quality. This is so rampant amongst conservative people right now. Let's take everything of value and throw it away in order to do something completely ill-conceived and unjustifiable.
I don't disagree. We're going to talk more about it, obviously, later in the show. Colorado has sent a trans protection bill to its governor, Jared Polis, who is the first out gay governor, I believe, in the United States. But up first, I might do this every day starting the show. It's going to be a daily reminder. There was a poll that just came out saying how most Americans approve of what the Trump administration is doing as it relates to trans healthcare, particularly for trans youth. And in the poll, folks said that trans youth shouldn't have gender affirming care because it's permanent. Okay. So this is going to be a daily reminder, and this is according to the Mayo Clinic. Puberty blockers, which is the main medication that a child will be prescribed if they are going to begin gender affirmation, does not cause permanent physical changes. When a person stops taking puberty blockers, puberty starts again.
So the main argument against
it. This is going to, I think I am going to do this actually. This is going to be a daily reminder that gender affirmation care, which is predominantly puberty blockers, is not permanent per the Mayo Clinic. So what you can say when you hear a MAGA person say, I don't want them to have permanent damage, you can say, the Mayo Clinic says puberty blockers do not cause permanent damage.
Right.
That's the Mayo Clinic, or you can listen to The Gaily Show because they report that stuff out too. Okay? Daily reminder. If folks do gender affirmation surgery, that's actually very, very rare that it happens. And actually, the people who do that type of surgery, breast reduction surgery, is actually cisgender boys. Okay.
Yeah.
So
once you told me that, I have not forgotten it.
Yeah. So
and the
daily reminder.
The important thing is that whoever's hearing this, you need to tell 10 people, because the reverse is happening. The nonsense is being repeated by liars, and the truth tellers, you all need to go tell 10 people the truth.
But so a daily reminder. Puberty blockers, which is the main medication for gender affirmation care for trans kids under the age of 18, not permanent. If you stop taking it, puberty starts again. But here's the thing about the polls. And it was the same thing around gay marriage. If a pollster calls you, or if you're at happy hour and someone asks you, what do you believe about trans healthcare? The first response is, I don't need to have an opinion about this. I don't care what you believe. I don't care about what you believe about gay marriage. You don't need to have an opinion about it. You don't.
Well,
so your response to a pollster is, I don't need to have an opinion about this.
Yeah.
Because this is healthcare. Doctors deal with this. Patients deal with this. Me personally, human being, I don't need to have an opinion about trans healthcare. I am not trans.
Did you know completely unqualified people think they're teachers?
So when we and this is the problem about, do you support LGBTQ rights? I don't care if you support LGBTQ rights.
Right.
We are human beings.
Right.
Therefore, we have rights
Ergo.
as human beings. We should not be discriminated against. I don't care if you believe in it or not. That is irrelevant to the conversation.
Right. Well, you're
so when people ask you, what is your opinion? I don't need to have an opinion about it. And that's just me saying that. I hope listeners will pick that up as well. When people ask me, and I was an LGBTQ health educator, and I would very clearly say, well, they're like, well, do you really believe and puberty blockers? And my response would be, doesn't matter if I care or if I believe in it. These are doctors that are dealing with this, and they are infinitely smarter than I am because they went to school for 10 years and they do continuing education. These are kids. These are patients. These are adults who are patients. They need to be dealing with this. They need to have an opinion about what is the best treatment for them and who is the best provider to provide that treatment. I do not need to have an opinion about it.
Right. Well, yes. I mean, I can think of all kinds of subjects. Vaccines is the one that pops into my head, where suddenly all these people, just rank and file gobos, suddenly have an opinion about things that are, like you say, we have to have some trust in the medical institution, and every institution.
RFK Jr. is saying that there are aborted fetuses in vaccines.
I know. Somebody in a position of authority now is telling tabloid nonsense to people, and they're believing it. It's very destructive to our country's fabric, and that poor guy needs some serious inpatient counseling.
Again, you keep doing this. I do not want to pathologize political beliefs.
Well,
it's very easy to dismiss it as someone's like, oh, they're mentally ill or something. No, but people can be cruel for the sake of being cruel.
Yes.
People can be dumb for the sake of being deliberately bigoted about something.
Yes. But we don't know the motivation.
And we don't need to pathologize that.
We don't know the motivation. The motivation could be what I said. It could be what you said. It could be, as I think Donald Trump does, simply take a subject that you think you can get some play, some attention for, and say that. That's not even sincerity. That's not even believing in anything. It's just getting attention to elevate the fact that he hates himself so much. But in any event, we all have to be better stewards of our own truth and try to learn a little something every day. That can't be that hard, is it? To learn something that you didn't know yesterday, learn it today. That's what we're trying to pass along to people if we can, and that's what we should all be trying to do.
Well, we are going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to be talking about a couple of Supreme Courts, the Brazilian Supreme Court and the UK Supreme Court, and it's the Brazilian Superior Court of Justice and the UK Supreme Court decisions and the impacts of them. Over at heartlandsignal.com, they have new progressive reporting on how the Wisconsin GOP cut 612 provisions from their state budget, including Medicaid expansion and lower childcare costs. And the University of Toledo scrapping data analytics, women's studies majors in response to Republican DEI bans. Go to heartlandsignal.com for more. You are listening to The Gailey Show.
The Stronger Together Pride Benefit Concert and Dance Party is coming to the Granada Theater in Uptown on Thursday, May 30th, and it's one night with a whole lot of heart. Hosted by Nina D'Angelo, this 21-plus event features live music from Ryan Cabrera and a high-energy dance floor driven by DJ Shannon Blowtorch. It's an incredible celebration, but it's also a fundraiser with a whole lot of impact. This year, Twin Cities Pride is facing a $200,000 funding gap after losing major sponsors. This event is a powerful way for the community, supporters, allies, and everyone who believes in Pride to step up and help close the gap. There are multiple ticket options available from general admission to premium experiences. So however you show up, you're making a difference. Presented with support from the Car Guy Concierge. Find tickets and event info at tcpride.org. That's tcpride.org. Celebrate, support, and help power what comes next, because we are stronger together.
Boldly challenging ableism is here to go where some people won't. I'm Katrina Simons, and every week I'm digging into the real impact of ableism, breaking down myths, calling out barriers, and pushing for a world where disabled people belong in every space. With my work at the University of Minnesota's Institute on Community Integration and a lifetime of lived experience, I'm diving into everything from employment and housing to justice and culture. And yeah, I bring some humor and heart along the way.
Boldly Challenging Ableism debuts on Sunday, May 18th at 2 o'clock on AM 950.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners that use social media. Do you want an authentic way to connect with people in your life? Something more meaningful? Thousands of people just like you know that when it matters, count on Minuteman Uptown for custom quality digital prints. From Canva creations to self-published books, from business cards to banners and signs, we print everything. Find more information at mpuptown.com. Contact Minuteman Uptown today, and we'll help you connect to what matters.
History Theater presents Whoa Nellie, the outlaw king of the wild Middle West. Saddle up for the brand new musical about Nellie King, the wily and scandalous female cowboy detective who became a Minnesota media icon in the 1800s. This vaudeville-inspired production blends humor, music, and a bold story about fame, identity, and truth. Join us for the premiere of this original show running May 17th through June 8th in downtown St. Paul. Learn more and get your tickets today at historytheater.com. That's historytheater.com.
Welcome back to the Daily Show. I am your host, John Parker. It's about 21 minutes past the hour. Our call-in number 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I don't know. I want to get into the next stories, but I just want to say that I am living on a constant state of rage. So when folks hear me kind of getting wound up rather about something, or yes, it's fun to talk about gardening and writing and podcasting and things, Fortune Feimster tickets, which I would love to go to that show, but it's all like this level of rage that is just simmering. I feel like I'm hovering over a pot of boiling water, and it's only been 5 months, and it starts to take a toll, all of the stuff that we're seeing everywhere. And I guess this is off topic for the news that we're about to get into, even though it's obviously related to it. But I'm of the position right now, and Jim and you and I were talking about this on the drive in here, is that if you're upset about what's happening, and not just to the LGBTQ community, like if you are upset at all of the cuts to the National Institute of Health and all of that federal research on climate and health and cancer, if you're not prepared to run on a platform in 2028 and say, we are going to invest $16 billion in federal research, I don't want to hear from you anymore.
Well,
we need to be ready. How do I want to say this?
Yeah.
We have to be bold now. We do not have the option. So if you're sitting there and saying, I am upset at the loss of $16 billion in cancer research and climate research and farming research and all of these things, if you're upset about that, then that means that in 2028, we need to be running on a platform that says we are going to invest $16 billion in research. And sometimes we get some centrist Democrats that don't want to commit to big proposals. But if we do not commit to big proposals, and I'm saying this as a queer person, only 5 months in, I need to start hearing this commitment. If we're just going to get back to where we were to January 1st of 2025, these are just the main fundamentals that we need to be doing. $16 billion you need to be ready for. 500,000 federal workforce, or whatever the number is. It's hundreds of thousands of workforce people, federal workforce members that need to be brought back on.
I think what you're saying is not, and I appreciate it, not going back to where we were. That's
if you just want to get back. Well,
that's been destroyed.
But if you just want to get back to where we were,
right,
you're going to need to be committing to big policy decisions. And the Democrats, the centrist ones who tend to somehow always be in control of the platform and always seem to somehow have the thumb on the scale of who ends up being the nominee, like, you need to get on board right now with big policy proposals.
Right. This is post-Trump. We're talking about post-fascism, post. It's going to be a very, very different.
You don't get the
set of
option anymore of
circumstances.
saying we're not going to fix the court. You don't get the option anymore of sitting there and going, oh, well, Department of Justice, blah, blah, blah. No, there needs to be a hard line created there.
Right.
Like if we do not do that, we have already been set back in 5 months. We have already been set back a generation when it comes to healthcare research.
Yep.
A generation.
But that's how much the Republicans or the people that have voted for the Republicans appear to hate this country, because all of the things that have been attacked were helping people in this country or others. They might not have been perfect. I'm sure they weren't, but they were attempting to do something positive.
There were people on clinical trials receiving cancer drugs,
Right.
receiving dementia drugs,
Yeah.
and those have all been ended.
Right.
So now they're kicked off those
Right.
medications.
Millions.
And that is going to set us back. But by the time you get to 2028,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
They're going to have further dismantled it. So then you have to recreate the infrastructure. You have to recreate the grants. And then you have to make people trust that if they get a grant, it's going to stay there.
Well, that's
Right?
unfortunately what these people
So-
have done is made people.
We are 4 years out. Sorry, Jim, go ahead.
That's right. No, I was just going to say, I think it's compelled people to think, oh, I don't know if I trust the government, which was all baloney anyway, because this is a different version of the government. This is a government for the wealthy as opposed to government for all of us. So they've fooled you into supporting something that will help them, yes, the billionaires and the multimillionaires, but it's not going to help you. And they've bankrupted, if you allow me to use that term, your future and your kids' future for some period of time. Is it going to be my life? Will it be back to some sort of positive, progressive country in my lifetime? I don't know. It's going to be nip and tuck, and the ramifications for future generations is almost indescribable. So what John is saying, if I may speak for you, is that we'd better take what was and understand that that's the past, and now we're going to have a vision for a very different and urgent future.
Yes. But it's going to, but you need to be, if we do not have a plan, our version of Project 2025, so Project 2029,
Right.
then we are basically saying everything that has happened is fine. Because if we're not going to bring back federal research, if we're not going to bring back federal departments, if we're not going to have a strong legal system with clear conflict of interest things in place, you can't be the president getting a Qatari jet,
right? Or a palace in the sky.
So if you are unwilling right now to get behind big policy proposals, which you would need to do just to get back to where things were on January 1st, then I don't want to hear you complaining.
It's a new deal. That's
it's going to have to be.
Yep.
It's going to have to be.
I agree.
Okay, so the Brazil's Superior Court of Justice has unanimously authorized gender-neutral IDs in a ruling last week. This according to AP News. So the plaintiff, who is not named, sued to have a gender-neutral designation on their birth certificate. And this is a case where the individual was transitioning and they had to choose between male and female. Apparently, that's very strict rules in birth certificates and ID in Brazil. They opted for male, but regretted that decision during their transition, wanted a third option. And so they wanted a non-binary, gender-neutral option. And non-binary meaning that the person does not identify as male or female. So that may be where they are intersex, where they have genitalia that is both male and female. This could be someone who takes on different gender roles. It could be, down to something like clothing, masculine and feminine presentation of yourself throughout the day. Minnesota and Illinois already have gender neutral IDs. U.S. passports, rather, used to have them. Then MAGA took over, and now those are gone. The case in Brazil can still be reviewed. We'll keep a watch out for it, but this is really good news to see that they are pursuing this. Going to take another break here. Please support the businesses that you hear in this break. They keep progressive news and radio on the air. Tell them you heard about them on The Gailey Show on AM 950 Radio or WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, it's Tom. Even though I don't live in Minnesota, I've spent enough time there to know how quickly the weather can change. One day it's sunny and the next you're preparing for severe weather. That's where solar plus battery storage from All Energy Solar comes in. With this power-saving combination, you'll gain energy independence and stay connected through blackouts, emergencies, or extreme weather. Solar plus battery storage is perfect for rural areas where power outages are more common, or for anyone tired of worrying about rolling blackouts. And with plenty of incentives still available, All Energy Solar will work with you to make sure you get the most savings possible. For over 15 years, All Energy Solar has been a trusted partner in helping Minnesotans move to affordable, renewable energy. They offer the best battery technology and their own licensed electricians and contractors to ensure top quality installation. So stop paying the utility company and start generating and saving your own power. Get a free consultation today at allenergysolar.com.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, host of the Bradcast. We'll expose and make sense of all of our current political nightmares and more every weeknight at 7 on AM 950.
Hi there, it's Jennifer again. I just have to tell you how Hypercharge Wellness has been life-changing for me. After my very first session, I felt a new sense of calm, started sleeping better, and my mind just felt clearer. I still can't fully explain all the science behind it, but I have heard that it's also great for people with chronic conditions, and I can totally see why. Every visit, my lower back pain eases, and I just feel so much better overall. I really noticed when I missed a few sessions recently due to a busy schedule. I could definitely feel the difference, and I knew I had to get back on track. If you're dealing with fatigue, pain, or even chronic issues, you owe it to yourself to give it a try. They even offer a $49.99 introductory session and consultation. Call and get started at any of their 3 metro locations. Check out hyperchargeclinic.com and tell them Jennifer from AM 950 sent you. That's hyperchargeclinic.com.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease. It'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
With your AM 950 forecast, this is Adam. Sunny skies today and a high of 87. Tonight, clear skies and a low of 62. Mavericksville Roast Beef in Roseville sets the bar when it comes to roast beef sandwiches. They have delicious Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon, avocado sandwiches, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, pulled pork, and more. Add fries and onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Mavericks Roast Beef, located off Lexington in Roseville.
Broadcasting live in the 2 p.m. hour from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing weeknights at 8 p.m. on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show. It's 33 minutes after the hour. I'm your host, John Parker. Jim Pounds, executive producer, in studio with me. Congratulations to Dennis. Won a pair of tickets to see Fortune Feimster at the State Theater here in Minneapolis. We have a caller from Robbinsdale, Brad. Brad, how are you today? What would you like to discuss here on The Gailey Show?
Well, I'm doing good, but I am quite dismayed by the things that I was talking to some kids the other day. I don't want to be specific on who they were. They didn't know what the Battle of Midway was. I blame all of this on the lack of critical thinking, civics, and real American history of their kids. If they could critically think, they would already know that trans people don't just decide they're going to be trans. It's the way they're born. I knew that. I knew I liked women when I was 6. Yeah. The problem is these people cannot critically think their way out of a wet paper bag. and the real problem was in Florida they had a legalizing marijuana on the ballot, and the sheriffs got on there and said, well, people will smoke weed in restaurants and it will stink and all that. That is not what they were protecting. They were protecting your cash flow stream from civil asset forfeiture, and they steal billions of dollars from everyday Americans. Every day, with no convictions, they take their property. And if people knew these things, were thirsty for real information, instead of, oh, you're ruining your life because you're thinking about this instead of just having fun. Well, I'll tell you what, they come knocking on your door because you said something about President Trump. That was true, but it was not. It was distasteful in their eyes. You could be shipped off to another country, and that can happen in America. And if you don't think it will, you're a fool.
Yeah. Thank you for the call, Brad. I agree with everything that you just said here. I think that we don't have enough critical thinking taught in our schools, and we have anytime anything does come up that's challenging curriculum, they just race in there and they want to ban the book, or they want to ban the class, or like they're doing in Oklahoma now, they are officially adding into the curriculum the lies that Trump has been spewing about the election in 2020. So that lie is now educational fact in Oklahoma, and we do need to be having more critical thinking courses and training, not just in like the collegiate level, but we need to be starting at the elementary school level and helping kids and adolescents and teenagers learn those skills to be able to critically evaluate things, so that they can look at political advertising, and they can look at these proposals and be able to assess, oh wait, this is what it actually is, and this is what the propaganda is.
That's why we always valued education in this country, because parents realized, well, I don't know everything, and I certainly don't understand a lot of complicated things, so I'm going to get them taught to the best of their ability by professional teachers as far up the line as they can go, and they'll be better off than I am. That was the promise, and American parents understood it. And now, for some reason, some percentage of parents have decided that they know better than any expert. I've told this story before. A woman tell me, no one's going to tell me what to teach my kids. Well, you shouldn't be teaching them, actually, in terms of, education on a higher level. They should be taught by professional teachers, and that's how we go forward. Otherwise, we go back.
And it's such a weird statement too. Like, are you literally going into a school and personally approving all of the curriculum?
Well, it's idiotic. It's the insecurity of people that worry about truth. Yeah. They're frightened of the truth, and so they're going to circumvent it somehow by filling it with whatever nonsense of one kind or another.
Yeah. Speaking of nonsense, the UK Supreme Court has unleashed chaos with their scientifically illiterate decision on gender. I say scientifically illiterate and biologically nonsensical because that is what the 50,000 doctors in the union branch of the British Medical Association, in a statement and a resolution, called the UK Supreme Court recent decision. The court undid 20 years of precedent in their UK anti-discrimination law. They said that now women means biological women and man means biological man, which, boiling down to it, means the presence of, your genitalia, penis or vagina. So a trans man, 28-year-old Evan Wade, said, okay, well, where do I fit into this new legal landscape? LGBTQ Nation reporting on this. So Evan was assigned female sex at birth, began transitioning about 5 years ago, and currently now presents as a man. He's transitioned. He has this really deep voice. He's got a beard. He had chest surgery, didn't have any other surgical procedures. He reached out to 60 gyms, 60. Most of them were women's gyms now, right? Because apparently he has to go to a women's gym. And he explained on the phone, this is my appearance. This was my sex at birth. These are my chromosomes. This is my gender identity. And the results of that were wild. So there were some that said, okay, yeah, you can still come to our gym. Like, this is going to be okay. There was one venue that said, we would have to ask you a personal question on what genitalia you would have. That was a direct quote, saying that the comfort of the ladies as certain genitalia cannot go into those changing rooms. So he replied, would you be happy to take my word regarding my genitalia, or would you require proof? And if so, how would I go about proving my genitalia to you? And the gym replied saying, well, if you're born a female, then you have to use the female facilities. Okay, well, that doesn't that doesn't help. The Virgin Active Change, which has 31 facilities across the UK, says that they're seeking legal counsel on the impact of the ruling. As I said, a small gym in Oxfordshire said that as a female, you are welcome to join our women-only gym. He's a man. Like, and this is the thing that I don't understand. You're going to have men like Evan walk into a woman's gym now because Evan was born assigned female at birth. He's got this deep voice. He's got a beard. It's just unbelievable to me that this is the chaos that the court has unleashed. And it comes down to gyms, you know. That's just one area. Public facilities is another area. Like any space that is coded as or separated based off of gender now has to be based off of gender at birth. Chaos. Thank you, UK Supreme Court, for giving this to us. Okay, so thank you to the US Supreme Court for now allowing the Trump administration to kick out trans service members from the military. Hegseth has told them that they have until July 7th to voluntarily leave. And in a recent speech that he gave, he said, quote, we are leaving wokeness and weakness behind. No more pronouns, no more climate change obsession, no more emergency vaccine mandates, no more dudes and dresses. We're done with that blank. The crowd laughed and then applauded his speech. And just to add more fuel to the fire, his pastor is saying that Jesus can cure, quote, sodomites, and that no one is born gay. This is a post that his pastor has made on social media. Homosexuality is not a fundamental aspect of your identity. It is a perversion, almost always catalyzed by horrific abuse in childhood. Christ can cure you. He can forgive the sin of perverting his beautiful design for sexuality. Okay. I was not subjected to abuse by a gay person when I was a kid.
I suspect somebody that would say something like that has an issue themselves, because it's a very odd, think how childish you have to be to say, we can't think for ourselves. We can't have feelings. Everything is told to us, how we're supposed to think, what we're supposed to believe, what happened, what didn't. We have no sort of common sense or no humanity. We can only follow some thing that was done selfishly to control people's thoughts, keep them uneducated, keep them afraid, keep the money and power and control in the hands of the organized religion. That's what that was all about. So
you can say, oh, well, that's his pastor. That isn't his beliefs. Look at Hegseth's record. Now he's kicking out trans folks out of the military. Right. He has said repeatedly on his Fox News show that women and homosexuals ruined the U.S. military.
Yes, women ruined the U.S. military.
And that the inclusion of LGBTQ soldiers has eroded U.S. military effectiveness.
Well, now you'll have 15,000 fewer of them. So you should do a rank and file survey and just see what you get back. Because these guys, if they're women, feel the same way, don't know the details. Ask a rank and file service member.
This is the hypocrisy of all of it, is that you can sit there and say, should a person be discriminated and fired from their job based off of their identity? They'll say, no, your identity should have nothing to do with it. If you are competent and can do the work, you should be able to do the work.
That's right.
Oh, but suddenly when it's a trans person or when it's a queer person, then it's like, oh, well, no, that's okay. They can be fired.
Right.
Doesn't matter how amazing they are at their job. They're gay, they're trans, they're lesbian. Fire them and don't give them any recourse.
Right. Well, you could further extend that, couldn't you, into non-Christians, into fat people, people with diseases, right? You could, people with Southern accents, people that were divorced. Remember, that was a big thing in the 50s, since we're going back to the 19th century. Let's start saying woman can't buy a house buyers. It's the same stupidity.
Well, Facebook and their policies explicitly said in their user policies in January, they said it is now acceptable for people to write that women are the property of men.
Right. So the stupidity that we got away from, think how many millions of people apparently miss that. They're saying, let's make America stupid again. Well, you're having your moment in the sun, but I'm telling you something, the rubber band is going to snap back and snap hard. And you've sort of bought this for yourself.
If we are willing and understand the moment that we need to get behind big change.
The new
big,
deal.
Bold change.
Yep.
Briefly, Colorado has sent a trans protection bill to its governor. Lawmakers in the Colorado State Senate gave final approval to a very contentious bill, the Kelly Loving Act, which is named after a trans woman who lost her life in the Club Q shooting from a number of years ago. It went through on a 20-14 vote last Tuesday. It amends the state's anti-discrimination laws to classify deliberately misgendering and deadnaming a person as discrimination. So that's constantly calling someone by their previous name after they've transitioned. Schools are required to update their policies to be more gender inclusive by allowing students to choose from any variation contained in the school's dress code policies. Other provisions include waiving the requirement to get a court order before changing the gender marker on a driver's license or other form of identification. The bill has been sent to Governor Jared Polis's desk. He hasn't said whether he's going to sign it or not. He said his spokesperson said that he's going to review it before making the final decision. Again, Governor Polis is one of the, I believe the first out gay governor in the country. So we'll see what Governor Polis decides to do. We are going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about something a little bit more upbeat, which is current work on this queer book, Saved My Life. So stay tuned. You're listening to The Gailey Show. If you're the parent or guardian of a queer young person, there's an opportunity for you to make their future brighter by filling out a community needs survey conducted by the Council on LGBTQIA2S+ Minnesotans. The council wants to know what the needs and experiences are of younger queer people. The survey is confidential and available at mnqt.info/survey. Let's address the erasure and isolation that young queer people can experience by creating a more inclusive Minnesota. Go to mnqt.info/survey to get started.
Did you know Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken airs 5 nights a week at 10 p.m.? That's 5 nights of talking about ghosts, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. We're talking about the paranormal every Monday through Friday with some of the most trusted names in the field. Join us and step into the unknown with Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Only if you dare.
Meet Jordan Berman, a charming single gay man in New York City who would love to be in love if only Mr. Right would swipe right. Between singles night happy hours and bachelorette blowouts, Jordan watches his girlfriends get engaged one by one, asking, what's next for him? Dive into the highs and lows of modern love and significant other, opening May 30th at the Main Street stage in Anoka. Tickets start at $43. Visit lyricarts.org. Lyric Arts, theater with character.
Hey, it's Freddie Bell, host of New Beginnings, designed for those of us more seasoned, I'll say, with informative talk on everything from health, finance, local and regional news, volunteerism, spirituality, and even a bit of humor tossed in. So if you're proud to be a more seasoned listener, tune in to New Beginnings Sunday afternoons at 1 right here on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950.
Artworld is celebrating its 30th year. This popular free event is the largest open studio tour in the nation, a fan favorite with art lovers, families, and fun seekers alike. With 1,400 artists and 100 locations throughout Northeast Minneapolis, you'll meet potters, painters, weavers, woodworkers, and more. And you'll find all types of art at all price levels. Then there are the terrific bars, restaurants, and breweries in Northeast, plus music, entertainment, and art demos. With Artworld, you're set for 3 days of wonder. Start planning now. Artworld is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, May 16th, 17th, and 18th. Visit NEMA.org. That's NEMAA.org for details. You'll find an artist directory, maps, dining and brew guides, event and music schedules, even info on Metro Transit passes and trolley rides. Plus, new this year, a passport app can win you prizes, a commemorative sculpture and raffle, a special beer from Prize, and 30 featured artists of Artworld. That's May 16th through the 18th in Northeast.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm your host, John Parker. It is 9 minutes before the top of the hour. The other show that Jim and I executive produce and host is This Queer Book Saved My Life. And I was very excited. I recorded an episode earlier today that we didn't plan on doing. It just worked out this way that we don't recruit books, we recruit guests, and then they, tell us the queer book that had a life-saving impact for them. And a lot of times they just reach out to the show. And the conversation that I recorded earlier today that I'm really looking forward to sharing with folks in June is about the book, children's picture book, Uncle Bobby's Wedding, in which a niece of Bobby gets worried about what's going to happen to her relationship with her uncle after he gets married to his new husband, Jamie. Well, this book is part of 10 books that are at the center of Mahmoud versus Taylor, which is currently in front of the United States Supreme Court. There were oral arguments in April, and a decision is expected in June. So it was wild to be talking to the author about this book, and also this guest who the book was so life-affirming for him when he originally read it. He cried when he was reading it, but then it literally played out in real life. When he did get married, his husband's niece was having a lot of anxiety about what was going to happen to her relationship, right? So it was this huge, full circle moment. Yeah. And in Mahmoud versus Taylor, the case is basically saying that parents should be able to pull their kids from curriculum and classes where the content does not match their faith traditions. Which, based off of oral arguments, the conservatives are going to say, yep, go ahead, which opens a Pandora's box, because what happens when they are teaching evolution, or when they're teaching climate change, or they're teaching paying your taxes, or, women voting, or, anything like that? What happens if they're teaching a book about divorce? So it looks like they're going to, use the gays to open the door to then allow faith groups to be able to dictate what is taught in public schools, and also becomes a de facto ban, for a teacher to sit down and go, okay, what curriculum here, particularly any, LGBTQ picture books, I have to send a note with the kids home. They have to get their parents to sign it to say that they can do it. If not, then I have to arrange, where is the child going to go that's been opted out? Are they going to sit out in the hall? Are they going to go to a different classroom? The gym? I have to find different curriculum for them to do. They just can't sit there, staring at their shoes while I'm teaching the rest of the class. Then they have to come in. I mean, that becomes so onerous that teachers are just going to skip doing it. And what ends up happening is then you're creating a de facto ban. You're not going to have teachers reading, including LGBTQ books or curriculum, because it creates such an administrative barrier that it's not worth it.
I mean, it's like everything else in our society where In this case, it's not the wealthy, although they do their own thing with education, saying our kids should go to really special, great schools and to heck with all the rest of you. But in this case, it's religious folks who say, I want my children to be, by my estimation, dumber, less informed, less perspectives, I want them to be narrow-minded versus the kids that are well-educated with variety of thoughts.
We can stigmatize it that way. If you are, my thing is, if you are a parent who doesn't want your kid to learn something that's going to violate the tenets of your faith tradition, do not send them to a public school. They're going to learn many things multiple times a day, every single day of the week, that challenges your faith tradition. It doesn't matter which one it is.
But
it doesn't matter if it's Mennonite, Judaism.
But you know why they're doing that? They're doing that because church
Christianity.
going is declining. They're seeing their numbers decline. People are less religiously oriented, that is the thing for their life. It's 16% of the population, and 16% of the population, of the voting population, wants to influence and tell all the rest of us how we're supposed to, have education. And that's wrong. The minority ruling the majority is always wrong under any circumstances in a democracy.
Well, and it's interesting that 20 years ago in June was Obergefell v. Hodges, where the Supreme Court ruled that, yes, the queers can get married. And now 10 years rather later, they're going to use a book about a gay marriage to essentially end LGBTQ books and curriculum in huge swaths of the country. Because they're going to be, Minneapolis, Chicago, New York, California, they're going to continue doing that. They're going to find ways of doing it. But if you're in the Twin Cities, if you're in Chicago, yeah. But if you're in rural parts of Minnesota or rural parts of Illinois, you're not going to get that.
Right.
So, and the author, Sarah S. Brannon, is such a delight. She was so gracious, and it was so amazing to hear how she crafted the book and how she wrote it originally in 2000, when it was published in 2008. And then there was a reprint of it. So if you get a chance, Uncle Bobby's Wedding, it's such a delightful children's book. And then she published a companion book about adoption last year, Miles Comes Home. And it was really heartening to spend the time with the book. We weren't planning to talk about this book. The guest reached out to us, and to be able to put the book front and center and not just talk about the Supreme Court case, right? That's something that we like to do, right? Is put it on the books. Don't talk about the numbers of book bans. Talk about the value of the book, the craft of the book, the impact of the book. And so I'm really looking forward to editing that episode and releasing it in June, because it's something obviously that's timely. And we've talked about banned books before. We've never talked about a book that was literally about to be banned by the U.S. Supreme Court at the center of a huge case that's going to have sweeping implications here and give religious groups such control over the curriculum in the classroom.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and or listening today, or listening and or watching. We're going to see you back here at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Up next on AM 950 and WCPT is the Matt McNeil Show. For folks in Minnesota, you can stay tuned for Native Roots Radio after that. Stream our show everywhere you get your podcast, or at youtube.com/@thegailyshow. Connect with us on Blue Sky. We're at thegaileyshow.org on Blue Sky. And until tomorrow at 2 p.m. or 8 p.m., keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.
The Stronger Together Pride Benefit Concert and Dance Party is coming to the Granada Theater in Uptown on Thursday, May 30th, and it's one night with a whole lot of heart. Hosted by Nina D'Angelo,